Hi folks, in today's video we're going to be walking through how to set up a local dispatcher for Adobe Experience Manager Cloud. Now I'm going to be assuming that you already have an author server and a publish server running locally with the cloud version of AEM. There is a really helpful link here in the Adobe documentation that you can use, which will be included in the description, to help you with your dispatcher setup. But before we go into the dispatcher setup, what is the dispatcher? When you have your author server and your publish server, obviously you make all of your changes on your author server. It's a place where people who don't know how to code can actually put together their website. We then publish that content to the publish server, which is a place that is not interactable from the author perspective. And where the dispatcher comes in is that in order to actually serve content to our end users, a person is going to get on their browser, whether it be Safari or Chrome or Firefox. They're going to make a request to a particular URL of our website, and the dispatcher is going to handle how that request is routed. So that's going to cover things like how rewrites or redirects might be involved, and what kind of rewrites or redirects you want to apply. So what we're going to do today is just show you the base setup for how to actually run your dispatcher locally. In future videos, we can go into detail about the actual dispatcher files and what they mean and how you can modify those and what those modifications would actually result in for the end page. So let's just get into this right here with the local dispatcher setup. Definitely recommend checking out this link. And I am obviously going to be doing this on Mac OS. There are some key differences for Windows, but those are usually called out pretty obviously. Like for example here, Windows users need to be using Windows 10 Professional because it supports Docker. Okay, so let's get into it. So the prerequisites, I'm doing Mac OS, so I don't need to worry about prerequisite number one. Prerequisite number two, install and start your publish server. We did that in the previous video, so I'll have a link to that in the description as well. You can check that out. We already have a publish server running. In fact, if I go to local 4503, you can see that it's running right now. Okay, and then we've got another item here. So you can, of course, install the weekend project. That'll help you actually visualize what's being done. And then finally, we need to install Docker. So Docker is a software that allows us to run programs on our machine that we can't normally do with the base out of the box computers that we have. So we will be installing this. All you need to do is just Google Docker desktop, go to the docker.com website here. You don't need to pay for Docker if you're just doing it for yourself. If you're using this for business, it might be a little different. But just go ahead and highlight or hover over this and then choose your appropriate option. If you're not sure what your Mac is running or what the hardware is, you can go up to the icon, click on the About This Mac button, and then it'll tell you. So for me, I have an Intel Core Mac. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you that you just click on the, for me, it's the it's the Intel chip version. I've already downloaded this here. So all you need to do, just download this, open it up, put it into your applications, and what you'll eventually see is you're going to see something like this once you start running everything. I've actually already done the setup ahead of this video, so it'll look probably something like this. Just go ahead and click through the steps and you'll get Docker set up. Now that we have Docker set up, we can actually get into the Adobe aspect of this, which is going to be firstly just to make sure that you have the proper software. So when we, in the previous video, installed the Adobe SDK, the AEM SDK, that included the quick start setup, and it also included like the jar file that will actually kick off our AEM build or our AEM server. It also included a file that we're going to be using for the dispatcher. So I'm going to pull this up right here in my downloads. I've got my AEM SDK. Go ahead and open this up. All right. So here's our AEM SDK. If we just open it for the first time, you unzip your SDK, you're going to see a folder like this. This is your author and publish quick start jar file. And then here are your dispatcher tools. So if you're running Windows, grab the Windows one. Otherwise, for Mac and Linux, just go ahead and grab this one at the top. Now what we need to do is we need to actually create a dispatcher folder that we can use for placing this software. So I'm going to create a new folder here. I'm just going to call it dispatcher. I, of course, like to keep everything in a neat location. So I will put that into my AEM folder. I've actually already done this ahead of time. So I have my dispatcher folder here. All you're going to do, this is going to be gone, and you're going to go ahead and place this. So let's just do it again for the video. Go ahead and just move that into there. I'll just rename this to make it easier. Dispatcher tutorial right there. And I am just going to put this into my AEM folder just because it's helping me track things. Okay, so now I have my software in my dispatcher folder. What we then need to do is to actually start interacting with the software and unpackage it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by running a few commands with this new folder. So I'm just going to drag this straight into the terminal. You could, of course, use command line to get to it as well, but I'm not really worried about that right now. So if I list out, I've just got that shell that I added. So the next thing we need to do is grab a command straight from the Adobe documentation. If we scroll down a little bit, you can see this command right here. We're going to go ahead and start by grabbing this one. If you're on Windows or Linux, it's going to be a bit different, of course. Go ahead and put that in there. I'm going to make this text bigger for everybody so they can see more easily as well. And then finally, we obviously are not running the x.x.x version, so you need to go in here. Because I listed out, I see that I'm doing 2.0.256, 2.0.256. All right, and then we're just going to go ahead and hit enter. You're not going to really see any output on that one. The next command that we're going to run straight from Adobe is going to be this right here. Copy that. Grab our terminal. Go ahead and paste this, and once again, we need to go change the version. 2.0.256. Now you're going to see some output. That's good. Go ahead and list out what we have. So we previously had just the shell file here. Now we actually have this folder. So let's go ahead and just change directories into that folder and see what it contains. Anytime you're working with the command line, if you have a folder that you want to get into, you can start to type out some of it and then just press tab and it will actually fill in the rest for you. All right, so now I'm into this new folder that's been created and I've got a few other folders. So I'm making good progress here. This video will help you as well. It's kind of like what we just did. And then finally, we just need to scroll down a little bit and we see we have another command here. So we can validate our configurations. This is just a test to check that everything's been unpackaged properly. And that's going to run for us. So what we see is that it is able to successfully check and finish this process. What I'll be showing you in a moment is going to be much more clear about how you can actually see this working properly. So in the end, what I want to be able to do is just like when I have an author server and a publish server, I don't present the publish server to my end users, right? If I'm working on a, I don't know, a random project named Project 3. If I have my website, project3.com, that's not technically my author server or my publish server. That's my domain-based server. And that's where the dispatcher is going to be serving that content through. So we're not actually going to be checking on author or publish 4502 or 4503. We're going to be checking on a different port, depending on which port you want to define, which we will talk about in a moment. I'm going to be defining this on port 999. So if I go there right now, presumably I won't see anything. Oh, let me fix that. So I can't reach it. There's nothing there. So that means that I'm not yet running the dispatcher properly. Okay, so we're going to run this now, and then we'll actually be able to go to that port. So we have another command, run the dispatcher locally command. Pick the appropriate operating system based on your option. And so let's just take a look at this for a moment and figure out what all this means. So we've got /bin docker. So basically this is within the folder that we just generated, right? If I go ahead and show you here, I think this is a little bit more visually understandable. You can see that we have the bin file or the bin folder right here. So I need to cd into this folder, run this command, but we also have this source folder, and as well, we also have the published host and port, and then the dispatcher port. So I'm going to show you my command, and then we're going to talk about what these actually mean. Let me grab my command. Go ahead and open up my terminal. So I'm already in the newly created folder, so I can just go ahead and paste it. So we're going to keep the original aspect of this, bin docker hot reload. That means that when I save changes, those will be updated, or when I publish changes, those will be updated. Then I have my path to whatever dispatcher code I want to run. So in the previous video, we installed the weekend project. That weekend project has a dispatcher folder with dispatcher rules. So I just grabbed the path to that particular dispatcher folder. And then finally, this is typically just something that you'll always see when you're working with Docker for this. So just go ahead and say host.docker.internal. Whatever port you're running your publisher on, you need to place that port here. For me, it's 4503. And then finally, define any port that you want as your dispatcher and dispatcher port, right? So that's this aspect here. That's just going to be 999 for me. All right, so I am, of course, already running Docker, right? So I'm going to put this right here so you can see what happens when I start running this. Go ahead and hit enter in my terminal. It's going to start thinking, it's going to do some process for me. And all of a sudden down here, I have a new container that's created. So that's why I need to be running Docker to allow me to basically create this mock server and run this container. Now, I'm actually able to go to 999. And you can see for me, because I've already published content from the weekend project, if I check my local 4503, I've already got my weekend project. You can see now that I can also view it on 999. So that pretty much concludes the video for the dispatcher setup. I think basically what you need to keep in mind is running Docker, having a publisher, a few commands that are just kind of niche that you just need to keep, maybe save them somewhere on your computer. But what does this do for us? Because frankly, it just looks the same. Like this page looks the same as this page, right? So really what we're doing here is we're handling how content is delivered and potentially where content might be redirected to, right? So if I request a particular URL, that might have a redirect rule that actually sends me to another URL. In this case, though, a very easy thing that we can highlight is that we don't want to show the full path to our content for the end user, right? We don't want to show /content/weekend. We just want the end user to see, hey, this is the USEN page. So in the future video, we will actually cover the rules that allow this to be possible. But if I come to my dispatcher version, you can see that although I'm serving the same page, my path no longer contains /content/weekend. So I'm actually able to obfuscate that information using dispatcher rules. And that's one of the really helpful things about the dispatcher amongst a plethora of other things. So basically at this point, what we've seen is we've seen how to take a running author and publish server and then integrate that with the dispatcher using the code that's provided from the Adobe software download portal. We've seen the commands that we need to use to actually start up the dispatcher, some dependencies that are required, things like Docker, and then how to actually start and run that dispatcher and then view the end content. So thank you very much for watching this, and I appreciate any feedback in the comments below. Take care.